You guys get an extra 30 seconds. I'll turn on Panopto. Good.
All right, everyone, let's bring that to a close. Laptops down. So, who got something that looks sort of like this? Basically, what we have here, we have a dogs object. It asks for, creates an object and sets it to dog. So we just create our var dogs equals these empty curly brackets. And then we're setting a property raining to true. We're setting the property noise to woof. And then we're declaring our make noise function that just says if the raining is true, then it's going to console log this dot noise woof. Same thing for cats. We create a very similar object. It also has a property called raining. It also has a property called noise, and it also has a method called make noise. So now we're going to just call these functions. Then we're going to set raining to true. We're going to call it true. Then there's this other thing called mass hysteria, which I don't even really want to get into. I think we're good just focusing on these two things here. So I think we've talked before about do not repeat yourself, right? We see how patterns naturally start to emerge when we code. We see our things, repetitive patterns happening over and over again. And so what do we do when that happens? We encapsulate those patterns into blocks of logic, which can be reused for different purposes, right? So what we're going to learn today is how we can encapsulate this pattern in a way where we can reuse it, where we don't repeat ourselves. Where we can basically, we see the similarities. What are the similarities here between these two objects, our dog's object and our cat's object?
They both have a noise property, both have a raining property.
They both have a voice, they both have a raining property, they both have a noise property, and they both have a make noise method, right? They both have those same things, but the values for each of them are different. The make noise method, it's the same either time. Right, if it's raining, it's true, then it's going to make the noise. Does this make sense to everyone? Any questions on what we've covered so far? Everyone good with this? Yeah.
It's not so much on the concept. It's, in this case, for such a trivial if statement, would this be a good place to use a ternary operator?
No, because it only outputs something if it's true. So that's why it wouldn't be. Ternaries are usually good if you have an if and then also an else, because the else is implicit. You have to have the else. You can't do a ternary without the else. Okay. Right. So because this just has an if and not an else, it might not be the best place. Also, because it's a block, it's just not clear. So ternaries you'll usually use like inline if you have like one word that could be something or it could be something else. Like you have or an, you say like if this word has an S on it, make it an. If it doesn't, make it or something like that, where it's sort of more like an inline thing. Sorry to deviate there, guys. Any questions though on how these two objects are the same? How we can encapsulate this logic now? Does everybody understand what we're doing here? Fabian, question? You good? Okay. Pedro, question? You good? You with us? Okay. We're laptops down, everyone. We are reviewing now, not learning new stuff. And it's very important that you guys do this because we're learning to talk about tech. We're learning to, your minds are going to rebel against this. You're going to want to go online and look at the answers. But if you just force yourself to learn the vocabulary and learn to talk about it instead, it's really going to help you out. I promise. I'm not just making it up. So let's take a look at what it would look like if we encapsulate these patterns. So this is the difference. We have one function called animal. Anyone notice the capitalization here? Anyone have an idea why we would capitalize it? Yeah, Dan. Because it's a constructor. So what does that mean, Dan?
So is a function that when you call it is going to be creating a new object for you using parameters that you pass in. So you could do like large or like Fido equals new animal and then pass in its properties.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Dan ate his Wheaties today. Definitely. So we have these two objects here. They're both very much the same. So this constructor object just creates for us an object very similar to the two we just created ourselves. So this sort of does it for us. A good analogy for this to help you guys out is this is kind of like in a factory. Have you guys ever seen those pictures of a factory where you have like a mold, like a big blob of molten metal, and then you just have like a mold that comes down and it goes like a chunk to chunk? That's what this is like. It's like a mold that creates the same object every chunk. Sound effect and hand gestures. See what I did for you guys?
Would there be any scope issues?
Would there be any scope issues? That's a good question, and it's kind of almost getting outside of what we're talking about here. So let's talk about how we're using this completely, and then we'll get into scope and how the scope works. So we can see here that we have our constructor function. So what's happening in our constructor function? We're passing in these two parameters, raining and noise. The reason for this is that these are the two things to change. So when you look at encapsulating patterns, you're going to look at two things. You're going to look at what's the same, and then you're also going to look at what's different. And then when you try to actually encapsulate it into something where you can do it once, you will set all of the things that do change to be variables, to be different mechanisms where they can change easily to meet the structure of the data. Make sense?
Yeah, one question.
Sure.
On line 14.
Yeah. We'll get to line 14. So I want to cover this top part and then we'll get down to that. Sorry. So what we're doing here, we have the two things that we know are going to change are the raining. It could be true or false. It could be raining or not. And then it could be a woof or a meow. So those are the two things that change. So we're going to make both of these parameters. And then we're just going to set, this is the one confusing kind of part. We're using the contextual this to set the scope to bind this argument that we're passing in to the scope of the function. So this binds this raining that we pass in to the scope of the function. This binds the noise value that we pass in to the scope of the function. The make noise binds a new function to the scope of this function block. And this is just going to be that same method that console.logs the noise if raining is true. And you'll see here we're using the contextual this, whereas in our other examples, in our other examples we were, sorry. So you guys should be familiar by now with contextual this and how it works. So this should all be sort of review for you. Welcome, Sam. Today is our object-oriented programming day. Okay, so everyone clear on this part we just covered here? Yeah? Okay. So now this next part that you were asking about, here is where we're going to instantiate the animal. So can anyone tell me, Dan, you would be a good candidate for this, I think. What does the word instantiate mean in the context of object-oriented programming?
It's
Sorry.
creating a new object. It's basically creating an object out of thin air for you.
Okay, great answer. Nelson, did you have another answer?
No, it's the same thing that you said that the constructor is I'm not sure that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mold, a molding.
The molding, and then the instantiation would be to build one of the.
Right. So this is how it works. We have our mold, right? And our mold goes down on the molten metal, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. But sometimes like little things will change. Maybe there's like a little thing out here that it adds sometimes, but not others. So you like move this thing and add it to the mold. So each time you do a new, it's like telling the mold, go down, press me a new template. Good chunk, press me a new template. And then you pass in the parameters to make it change slightly depending on what you want. So that's basically what the new does. It takes our constructor function and creates us a new object with this. And then these last few lines are just calling the make noise method of dogs and cats. So we create a new animal, dogs, raining with the dogs is true, raining with cats is false. So when we do dogs.make noise, it'll say woof. When we do cats.make noise, what happens? Nothing, because raining is false. Then we can set cats.raining to true. And then when we call make noise, what happens? Meow. Okay, so let's just run all of this. And by the way, we changed the structure of the course. You guys were supposed to have Node, but they changed the way they were doing things. I guess students were getting somewhat overwhelmed with 2 weeks of Node. So they just now made this decision to break everything up. So you can choose to run these functions with Node. There's no like front end for it. There's no HTML. There's no CSS. So you may choose to run this in your browser console, or you may choose to run it with Node. Up to you. So you see it did just basically what we said happened. So how do you guys feel about this? I know you guys probably have questions. Yes.
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Make noise function. Take this out of that.
Yeah, that's.
No, you cannot take the this
So,
out.
you declare-
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So this one? No, that would make it locally scoped, which would mean it'd be a private method. So if you had something that would call like, let me give you an example. Say you have I'll just do this, code this in the console for you guys so you can see. This is a common use of a constructor. You'd have a person function, and then it would take like a name. Maybe it would take me too long to type this, but you could have a constructor for a person. And basically, like if you wanted to put the first and last name together and have that be a private method that's only accessible from inside your constructor function, you could do that. And then you could have a public function that says greet, and it'll say hello so-and-so, and you would use the private method that puts the first name and last name together and console log that. Does that make sense? So we've been learning already about public and private methods and how they work. Is everybody pretty clear on how public and private methods work? Sometimes you'd only want a piece of logic to be accessible from within your function or from within a certain scope. Other times you want every function within the application to be able to access that method. So if you don't use the this, it becomes a private method and it's only accessible from within inside the constructor. Yeah, Dan.
One thing to add that might help, I guess, is the way I saw it explained a little bit is like what you don't see the constructor is doing is almost like in the line above this dot raining, it's almost like it's saying var new object, making an empty object, and then this is saying like new object dot make noise is going to be a function for that object. And this is necessary to make sure it actually gets binded to the object that the constructor is creating.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like, it just means that does automatically isn't written out in the constructor.
So it's making you a new object. Just like in our last example, we made our own objects. We said, hey, here's dogs. It's an object. It has this property. It has that property. Our constructor is doing that work for us. And in order for it to do that, it needs the this to bind it to the scope of the object. Otherwise, it's binded to the scope of the function, not the object that it's returning. And this stuff is going to seem a little bit strange to you guys because you've had no experience with it. So usually, like, this is a really hard class. You guys are actually at a better level, I think, than a lot of the students who go into this particular lesson. But you'll have to play with it a little bit to see how the contextual this actually works. Try thinking it out. You know, that's really the best way to learn. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? So kind of play around with it a little bit. Okay. Any question? Can we explain why the this works? So Jackie, do you understand why we have to put the this?
Yeah, I have to play with
Yeah,
it.
you'll have to play with it a bit
Log
more.
in and I want to see.
Yeah, so it won't. Let me show you guys. This might help you. It would take me like too long to type out the actual code for a whole other example.
Think of this as making a shelf on a book.
Say that again, Melvin?
Think of the word this as a shelf on a bookcase, and each time you're trying to do the new, it's adding different books onto the bookcase. I don't know if
Yeah,
that helps, but that was.
yeah, that could be apt. So let's see. I'm gonna run this. We have our function animal. So what happens now when I do new animal? Let's do something else. Raining is true, and this one is gonna go quack. So now you see this returns an object, and it has these three methods and properties. Two are properties, and one is a method. So another thing I could do is in this constructor, let's say I want to put a private method inside this constructor. So I would do, let's say I want to put a private method in here inside this constructor. So I would do var. We'll just call this both, and it's going to return, let's just do this. We'll make it an arrow function just to save time. And it's going to return this dot raining plus this dot noise. And then instead of console logging this dot noise, I'm going to console log both, right? So then when I do this again, so here's what I actually have to do. I go back to the beginning of this line, and I'll just say q equals new animal. And then if I do q dot make noise, you'll see that it has this make noise method. I can call this, and it will console log that. I don't know why it's not a function though.
Because you didn't call it as a function.
What do you mean? It's an arrow function.
When you do console log.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely. No, I did. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, sorry. Just forgot that last part there. So I need the parenthesis after this, so it'll call it as a function instead of just giving me back the actual value. I instantiate the new animal again, and then I now call the make noise method on it, and it's going to give me back true and quack. True quack. So do you see how this sort of works? Sometimes you would want a private method that just like strings the things together. But if I don't want other objects or modules within my application to have access to this, then I make it private. So a good example of when you would want to do that is like I made that database module in the Firebase homework that we did. So the database object itself was private and it was only accessible from other methods and properties within the database module. So if other modules want to get access to the database, they have to go through the methods that are predefined in database. They can't just access the database object directly.
So since you're doing it like that, if you do q dot both, it's not gonna turn it.
No, that property won't be there. So you see if I try to type q dot both, it won't auto complete it for me. If I try to do this, it'll say it's undefined. Okay, more questions? Anyone? All right, we're going to move on to our next exercise. Okay. Over the course of this activity, you are going to be using constructors to create simplistic characters for use within a very basic role-playing game. RPG is the abbreviation for that, in case any of you are curious. Each character to be created using your constructor should have the following properties: name, a character's name; profession, what they do. They might be a sword slinger or a, I don't know, blacksmith. Gender, age, strength, hit points. Did any of you guys play Dungeons and Dragons or like Magic cards or anything? So you get the idea. Print stats. Okay. So, can you guys see how you would use a constructor for this, or why the constructor would be helpful? Since they're all going to have many of the same attributes, we can use a constructor to automatically create them for us, like a factory. Okay, TAs will be slacking this out. Your bonus: after completing the previous sections, make sure they work. Now you have everything you need to create a very basic RPG where two characters fight one another. Don't worry if you can't finish this part of the activity, as by completing the above sections, you are well on your way to mastering constructors. Okay, 30 minutes for this.
the last activity?
Yeah, I can do that for you. No problem. Yeah, I sent it. 20 minutes, everyone. 1/3 of the way there.
Yeah.
Usually the way we do it is because I'm not all the information. Basically. Here means a whole number without floats, allow a comma, 1.5, 1.6, etc. Then you say an integer is a whole number, 1, 2, 3, integer means. Yeah.
That's what I figured. So just when I do that, this is what they ensure that the function is.
Yeah.
No, because that won't work. So this refers to everything that's in here. You can't, with this, you can't get to out here, which is what you need to do to get to the character. So if it needs to say everything about the character, you could just console log this, and it will give you all of this.
Instead of having all the just use comma.
So this is an object, and set up each of these as properties of that object, right? So if you console log this, it will give you the whole object.
If you add an extra variable, after your whole code starts working, there is a whole thing about that.
What do you mean the name? So the name gets set to a property, right?
It means receive.
So yeah, console log this will work in that case. Because it will give you back this, this is an object, and you're setting name as a property. fetching all of these properties, and then when you pass through all of this, it will show you the whole object of all of the vectors. And yeah. And I would say the print stats category, because that's not a print stats.
Oh, I was gonna ask you how.
So it's not that the neck is to the uppercase letter, it's that I would construct it to the uppercase letters.
That's just a naming convention.
That's a name, so we don't have to do it that way. Yeah, yeah, lower count.
Yeah.
Make it first letter lower and then all the first words of the subsequent words, all the first letters of the subsequent words. How you doing?
This is just nitpicking.
Everything is uppercase. Yeah. Definitely. So what was yeah.
I've never changed the boundary. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
You'll always be alive.
You just, what is strength? You strength determine how much.
So you have a
damage
constructor. Constructors get uppercase letters. So in this case, your RPG is your constructor.
I guess.
I would call that actually.
Yeah, I would subtract chickens off.
Right. Yes, he worked down the ranks.
Uppercase, uppercase.
Yeah.
Never die.
Yeah, so we
All
do
of
it
these
with
are
salt, that's right.
lowercase, and then you need to pass in arguments for each of these. So inside of parentheses, you'll type name,
I just want to make sure I was understanding.
because you're passing in arguments, and then you're using this to set it to the rules. So go ahead and type in name.
Maybe
inside
strength is supposed to be passed then.
Type in name inside parentheses, inside of parentheses.
No.
Name, and then come down to
No,
47
I don't
there,
know what strength is in.
and then you're gonna replace
Like I said,
that
it's just
quotes
nitpicky.
with name.
Oh.
Outside.
Yeah, because I like to hit the 10.
Yeah, get rid of.
Yeah, strength is determined how many hit points you subtract from the hit, right? Yeah.
So you have to
So
look at strength
and then
minus
that-
hit points.
So
Either one's
now
minus
passing
Right,
in
exactly.
name as an
On the other
argument to this
character.
function, and then it's binding this argument to this.
Exactly.
So that's why we do it this way. So now you have to come in and type comma procession, lowercase p, then change this to a lowercase p, then make this equal. So do the same thing we just did for name for the other one.
Okay.
Do that, I'll come check on you. Pedro, what's going on there?
This is where we get a character. So that's the character we just created.
How's it going?
So that's what is function, which makes sense, so we kind of just get like.
So, it looks pretty good.
Are you looking at the attack?
Yeah.
Yo, it's gonna be the strength, strength, so you grab the strength.
Yeah, so you don't need
And that's the most you
there
subtract.
on my.
Right, but the reason when I passed in, I put like secondary, it doesn't actually work. All I'm doing is-
It doesn't matter as long as.
I thought I would pass in the second paragraph as right.
And then you don't leave it as curve.
Here I see the, like you should be the way around.
Oh, okay.
The second character.
No, that line is fine, right?
Okay, so I have to-
But see what?
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, you're right, yes.
Well, because I first had it just, boundary variance, it just has second pair of boundary, so that's all I had before. And then I added zero, and then I added this. You're saying that I should.
Well, can't you just,
And then
remove
you
the variable
get
revised
closing
from
curly
that.
brackets
So-
after.
Second character dot HP is equal to second character dot
I don't think this will work though, and then I passed in my second character.
Trust yourself.
I am supposed to, I'm not trusting these instructions. Oh shit, it actually worked. Did it work?
Trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
If
you're
you calculate 999 minus 54, then yeah, it works.
Perfect.
Other than that, that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the character.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see
So why are we declaring your?
Yes.
And he's just.
Straight.
Oh, waiting till the.
Yeah.
No, we just don't write it. The function process, just write it.
Oh, this function does all that.
I'm just.
Yeah. So don't get rid of all.
Oh, it's printing out itself.
Can I say here?
This key is equal.
I mean, you could do right here.
We don't really change much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this.
Okay, so here's our common cap. I don't know, I don't see that. I would start.
No.
Yeah, looks like that's not. It's not syntax there.
Basically, just this. And do the or.
Okay, so here's.
With 15 on. Level up.
Comment all that. So, you can take a look at the example, that'll be where we start. So you're gonna do an example like we did. So basically, yeah, use that guide, see how far you get. So basically, what you're doing here is you have a constructor function that creates the object. It's like dropping like a factory, all of it's negative for you instead of you having to check it yourself. So now you're just trying to structure that here. So it's gonna have like those properties that tell you the profession's name, all of that. So you're just making a constructor that creates an object that has those things. And you have parameters that takes an argument. What is the name? What's the how do you use that as a guideline?
I don't think it's good.
You actually.
That would be.
Oh, no, that's not even it. I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I think I'm thinking of not that. Well, it's not anywhere to go.
Okay, 5 minutes, everyone. 5 minutes.
The other one's report function. He has to initiate a new object.
Yeah. I just did one cross log and I just made it into.
Have been four.
What is it?
Just create no, not yet. Oh, wait, no, you have it as a right, right? No, you're gonna be creating a new character. Space. New character. Yeah, but the way it's spelled, with a capital. Now, you need, in order to construct your work, you need to pass in. Okay, all right,
Oh, okay.
Inside there, there's a unit passing names. Your name is that as a string. Never pass names. Use it as a string. You take either this or your sign. So whatever, you can put names, so that you can put regular names, the same name. You have to pass in as a string. Use JavaScript as a regular.
They have things that do that. Yeah. Check out Watson, IBM Watson, I think can do it. Yeah, pretty sure.
Oh, you find it, John?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, 2 minutes, everyone. 2 minutes.
Male or female.
Oh, so they put the other there?
Yeah, it should have been added. So Robin's probably worked with it.
Age, right?
Right, so if you want to do it, you can go back
Yeah.
and say type of function.
That is string would work.
As long as you have more than one function.
They don't recognize that. Correct.
That's it, that's it.
Yeah. I put 100.
Oh, no.
Right, that's right. Hit point is really help the people.
Number two, right?
That's a number. You have to put something from it. No, it has. 7 around. And then it's quick to fix that. Yeah, how do you run this function? How do you create it and how would you access it? No, this is too, this is not, only the right place. Just create a variable John.
Basically, you're good at
So in order to access John's.
Okay, everyone, let's bring that to a close.
You get 8.0,
Okay, let's bring that to a close, please. Laptops down. Everyone, laptops down, take a deep breath in, let all of that stuff you're thinking about go. Let it go. Laptops down, take a deep breath in, let it go, let's go. Come on, let's see how quickly we can do this, guys. We're gonna get our explanation of what's working. Laptops down, Nelson, laptop down. Nelson,
Wow.
we will wait for you, Nelson. Son? Nice. Okay. Good job, everyone. Who got it somewhat working? Almost, okay? Almost there? Who was almost there? Like most of you should have been almost there. Chris, you'll learn it. Keep paying attention. You'll get it. If you guys don't get the stuff at first, keep looking over it. It will start to make sense to you. So this is what our completed exercise looked like. We have our constructor function here, just like we saw before. It has an uppercase C for character. And then we're just passing in these 6 arguments here. 6 arguments is really too many, even for a constructor. That's a code smell. So when you see that happening, take a look, consider refactoring. But then on these subsequent lines, we're just basically binding the argument to the scope of the function. Then we're creating a print stats method, which just console logs a bunch of stuff. Let's see, what other fun stuff are we doing here? Then we have an it's alive method, which also console logs a bunch of stuff given some criteria are either true or false. Does this part make sense to everyone? It should. You guys are doing really well. So, does everyone understand what the \n does, by the way?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it creates a new line. So that is the character code for a new line. This is something that goes back to Unix computer systems, like from a long time, going all the way back to the 70s. Yes.
Does it matter how many of those dashes?
Okay.
The dash
Line.
The dashes just makes the dash line. It's a visual aid that we're adding in.
Also, you're adding a new line and then.
Yeah, so it's just telling it make a new line, then print like a bunch of dashes, then make another new line.
That's making a loop.
Yeah. Okay, so then this character constructor also has another method attached to it. It does attack. So we get a character 2. Where's our character 2? Huh.
Yeah, that's just the constructor.
What?
It's when you call the function later on.
Oh, okay. So right. So we're buying. Sorry about that, guys. It's nice to have students teaching me for a change. Yes. So as you guys pointed out, we have that this dot attack. This is binding a method to the scope of our constructor, and it takes an argument which we will pass in later for character 2, and then it's just gonna add hit points or deduct hit points based on the strength of this character we're creating. Right, then we can also level up. So that's another method that changes stuff. This changes the age of the character, it changes the strength of the character, and it changes the hit points of the character. This concludes the constructor function, and now we are going to instantiate 2 new characters using our character constructor we just created. This one's job is Crusher. No, his name is Crusher. His job is Warrior. He is male, and these are his hit points or whatever. Then we have a new character named Dodger. He is a rogue, or she is a rogue. She is female, and she has these stats. Okay, and then we just make them do battle and stuff. We're calling the methods that we set to them. So are you guys good with this? What questions do we have on this so far? Yeah, Russ. Yeah, that's okay. So we can talk a little bit about how you would do that, but it gets really when you talk about the best way to refactor these, you'll have to read Dr. Biscuit's book that I tell you guys about, and you can learn about something called function currying, which we won't get into in this class at all, but currying is probably the best way to fix that. You can do but for our purposes here of learning how constructors work, this is okay. It's just a little bit ugly. A little bit unwieldy. But it does all this stuff that it asks it to do, so you can now create as many characters as you want. You give them their hit points, give them all of the stuff that you need to give it, and it will have all of these methods already attached to it. So it works this way. Okay, everyone good with that? Do we want to see what the completed game looked like as well? Okay. Yeah.
So for like general best practices, is it just that like some people mostly do object oriented and some people do functional programming, or is it that like you use aspects of both to make it work best?
No, it's basically the first thing you said. Some people came into JavaScript from Java backgrounds, a lot of people, or other object-oriented programming backgrounds, so they tried to make JavaScript work the way they were used to, and they felt like it was basically broken and had to be more object-oriented. Now, there are a few people who came into JavaScript from Scheme, but not really as many, because Scheme and Lisp are very like academic languages, so the people who work on those types of languages typically wouldn't go into such a sort of commercial endeavor as web development. They're more happy just like staying in academia and doing theoretical kinds of stuff. So most of the people who came to work on websites in JavaScript were from the Java world, which is why we have so much of the Java paradigm in JavaScript now. Their trend has now become to sort of reverse it, though. The reason for that is because object-oriented applications have a very strictly defined hierarchy. So you have one type of object that creates another type of object that creates another type of object, and it's a very strict kind of hierarchy, which can get you into trouble when you have a very vast information set. Sometimes it becomes more advantageous to have a more loosely, sparsely defined kind of hierarchy, which is what functional programming. But yeah, in practice, you will see sort of a mixture of both. And a lot of times programmers won't even really make the distinction between which is which. They're more worried about just making their application work. So let's take a look at character create with RPG game. So you see the first thing is the same as before. We're calling all this stuff. And then they're just using some kind of a while loop. So we define all of our characters here. We say attack, and then we're just looping over. You guys remember how a while loop works, right? It just keeps doing something while a condition is true until it's not true, which can get you into trouble because it can do an infinite loop. So it's saying while the warrior is alive and rogue is alive, keep making them battle each other until one of them dies. The woman dies first, spoiler alert, since her stats are much lower, and she's a rogue. Yeah, I thought this was somewhat like sexist. The man is a warrior, the woman is a rogue. His stats are all better than hers. Oh yeah, oh no, the woman has one stat that's better. I don't know which one that is. Which one is that? Strength. So the woman does have more strength, but less hit points, right? So can anyone predict what would happen if the male has this many hit points, the woman has only this many hit points?
Actually, the dude dies first.
Oh yeah, so the man dies first. Okay, I was wrong. They're not as bad as I thought. Do we want to run this and see what happens?
$5 for the girl.
Crusher has died. Man died.
So they were for sure married.
Wait, why were they married? A woman would only kill her husband? No, I missed the joke.
And if they were married, then for sure the guy is.
Yeah, that is true. Statistically, I mean, yes, in most married couples, the husband dies first. Oh, yeah, sure. Statistically, that's what we're talking about. Yeah. Okay, so are you guys ready for what's next? I think break is next if we're done talking about this. All right, so we're a little bit ahead of time, so I'll give you guys even like 25 minutes for break.
All right.
Douglas is on.
So we're back at 8:07. She's never
Oh my god. Did you get a new job? I saw something.
I could have sworn I saw
Yeah,
something.
someone congratulated me on the job I got like a while ago.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just a little LinkedIn profile.
Little You do. I'm good. Good? Good.
Oh, no, not yet. April 18th. That's when you that job.
I know it's.
That month.
Oh.
Number two.
I've gotten 2 job offers so far, but I've had to decline them.
What was
I
that?
can't
Well, the
my
second
job
one-
is actually not that.
So that one should be open during the week.
Oh, yeah, the other one's open during the week, but the one that's open during the week closed at 7.
I don't know, they're a hot mess. I wonder if
I don't think this is.
Einstein Brothers is open right now.
I don't even know.
Especially since it's in the law school and lawyers are like crazy.
If they are, can you give me a calendar tea, thanks?
I will see. So you're sure that the Starbucks, well,
But that's what
I don't
Google Maps is reporting to me.
McDonald's is definitely open,
McDonald's?
right across the street.
I know, that's one hell of a street to cross. But McDonald's doesn't have hot tea. Good people. I had a Martha. I had a Martha.
It looks like it's extra yummy, but.
Oh, that was so good. The moment I took my first sip, I'm like, damn, this is heaven. I just had the chicken masala.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I never turned up the AC. What did the homework say the default song was doing?
Lauren has
Yeah, she is. It's better. Yesterday was terrible. Thank you. I'm trying to finish with the homework since I couldn't touch my computer yesterday. Honestly, I don't know. I got an MRI not too long ago, and then my doctor thought she fixed it because she found like something right here, and she gave me a high dosage of antibiotics. But now I still have to see an EMT because he needs to look at it. But I just lost my health insurance and like this one of my gaps is my health insurance stuff, so I can't go in and just, those things. I have no idea why it happened yesterday and today, because that was fine. I know, I thought it was because I didn't eat enough yesterday, but today I made sure I snacked between breakfast and lunch, I snacked between lunch and dinner, like, there's no reason for me to have gotten another headache. So, who knows?
It's tiring today.
Yeah, what'd you do today?
I work all day. Boring stuff.
Yeah.
How was your weekend, man? Everything good?
Good, yeah, everything's good. I caught a little cold this weekend, but.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, I just kind of like lost my voice. But
You have
other
that
than
throat
I was
stuff
okay.
or?
Yeah, I mean, I took a bunch of stuff like vitamin C.
Yeah, because I don't mind getting a cold as long as it's not the throat, because that's like the most.
Yeah, that's
part.
the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really the throat, more just like
Sinuses.
sinuses. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you get better, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm pretty much over it. It's just like, you know how your voice stays kind of like sounds like you're sick, even though you're not. That's basically where I am now.
So I didn't write anything, I just wanted to test the node.
So we're taking a break from Node and then going back to it, or?
Yeah, we're gonna go back to Node. We're gonna learn a few other things first.
Jonathan, you mentioned they maybe go back a step. Was that original plan to go back?
No, I mean, we just teach the lesson plan, and the lesson plan changes all the time.
Oh, really?
So whatever's there, I have to teach it. So if they make a change like last night, this change they just made literally yesterday. They rearranged the way a bunch of the modules work. So I just teach what's in the lesson plan.
Bigger console and all that stuff.
Are you sure it was that way, Jonathan? Express was supposed to be this week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess what happened was some students started getting frustrated by too much Node, too much back-end stuff, so they decided to move back to some front-end stuff, just to kind of give people a break, ease them into it. I guess,
They
I'm
reworked
guessing.
a lot, like, the boot camp spot, repo was down, like, we don't have permission for that anymore. We don't have permission for some of the assignments, like editing, we don't have that button anymore.
Hmm.
So they stripped away a lot of the stuff that we could do.
Are you sure they did that on purpose?
I don't know.
Huh.
But it was at the same time that they took down the teams, like they took down everyone's access.
Yeah, I know they were
Yeah,
doing some
they-
internal restructuring.
Right,
and
that
stuff.
might have been it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, no idea.
Yeah, I guess they know what they're doing. We can just trust the process a bit. It seems to be working pretty well.
You can just set the clear to be a certain thing and then it's already gonna do it there, it's kind of redundant, but if
There we go. That, probably be what you want to focus on. Like, give it time. I'll give it time.
like, if one of those is no, then you can just go the dots and the song. So you don't have to call the songs content. You just pass in what periods. You don't have to call it before you're. It's okay, I'm really out of it too. Like, if you're gonna call, you're gonna. And you're gonna call it like. But that can be like separate from.
Oh, okay, now, yes.
And then
Yes,
just like,
now.
like a period, no, you can set it to like a or like. You just pass that in, that's
Yeah.
separate, that's a separate thing.
Yeah. Now I understand. Honestly, it's actually it's to me that I'm doing
So,
this assignment right now.
yeah.
Oh, hi.
No, Starbucks is closed.
I know, I was brushing my teeth and I got toothpaste all over. And I got, I said I was taking breaks. What's happening?
Where do you need help with the computer?
And then it was
Another student's talking.
when I was brushing my teeth.
What time are we back with?
8:07.
8:07.
I forgot.
Texas? No. Oh, okay. I was like, this Slack, I was like checking for patient or patient. And I was like, I had two things, buzzes. And I was like, why is it going? I was like, why is my phone blowing up right now? And then I was like, it was like 21 notifications. I was like, oh my god, what's happening? You don't understand kids all our Slack messages. It's probably like these girls with weird. I was like just there and I was like, I can't check really check my phone with them. I felt bad with them. So I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, we can't have the emojis on our laptops, so we have to check it to your phone.
When did this happen?
What? We can't get the emojis
In Slack?
in Slack on the laptops.
Huh.
Can you fix that, Jonathan?
No, I don't think, I think you can. You just click the little smiley face. There's a little smiley face.
I don't think I have that on my Mac.
Yeah, you
Wait,
used
hey,
to,
wait.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, me and Lloyd.
in the bottom right.
You can jackass.
It's all this object oriented jobs.
It's a button. What are you talking about?
It's a button.
I'm so
It
sorry.
is. I'm sorry.
Where do you? Where particularly? Let's go there.
they're called. Yeah. That one says Skipper.
Oh, you discovered it.
It's something there.
Oh my god, I love close window.
What do you mean? Do I can go later on?
Oh shit, mine's is
Switch case. Not a little practical, but yeah.
Oh, there's a coin. What's the tapes? Or, I mean, Village Market. I'm looking at Russell's photo.
What?
Russell's photo.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you shared that. It's for, just to know what's
Well,
my
yeah,
birthday.
right there.
Samuel together. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's the purpose of that. That's what we have to do. More than enough to keep it.
I could be late, learning about that.
Yeah, this is crazy. As long as you have the right. That's it.
Jonathan?
Yeah.
Or either Jonathan. Did we ever, talk about invoking functions versus calling them?
Same thing.
Okay.
I don't think there's a difference, as far as I know.
What sounds fancier? I invoke this.
I invoke this
I'm gonna send you something, I was just reading about them. I think it was on MDN, on Mozilla.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same thing. I wouldn't confuse yourself, but I'll take a look.
Oh, it was a node. A gentleman was talking about, that's what it was. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And he was talking about with node, you have to invoke the function. So I'll send it to you. We can talk about it.
Yeah, it should be the same thing, invoke and call. Jonathan, is that the same thing? Is there any difference between invoking a function and calling a function?
I think there's like a slight difference semantically, but.
Wait, what is the difference in syntax? You call it, how is it
Well,
different?
I guess what I'm reading is that calling is when you manually call, like if you did like, if you had a function called print stats and you literally just call like object.print stats, whereas invoking would be like, oh, so I'm reading on Stack Overflow would be like doing something that calls that function.
Yeah, and the gentleman was talking about node, that just be careful when you're writing functions because node.
Oh, so to call, I guess, means to use the dot apply method. So you can, there is a method called call. This is new with ES6. Don't worry about this for now. Don't worry about the dot call method. It's something new with ES6. They added these two new methods to the function prototype called apply and call. But don't worry about that for now.
Okay.
We're not there yet. And they're only needed for like a specific set of things. It's very new, came out in the last 2 years, not really related to what we're learning.
That's a pretty general question for on-field anybody.
For what?
What are the major differences between development on Windows versus Mac OS? Is there really?
Well, Mac OS is Unix based, so most of the stuff we're doing is open source software, so it's all written on Linux and Unix based systems, so it works more naturally. Typically, if you want to install a new type of database or a new type of framework, you'll have to do more work to get it working on Windows. Usually when people make open source software, they make it to work on Linux first, and then Windows is sort of like an afterthought. So because there is such a robust ecosystem, people make most stuff work on Windows, but they don't really have to.
So in the computer, you have the, right across from the cafeteria. That way?
There's our, I'm sorry.
Utilize it. So go up towards the library.
If I'm buying it, it's for me. I'll never have to.
I had someone that wanted to trade my laptop for their Mac.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not, Surface Pro 30 touch.
What year?
I just got it in October, and then I didn't want it.
That looks
because
good. Where'd you get that from?
I got it line.
Oh, no?
I
Yeah.
got this bad boy.
I'm here.
Oh, that's okay. Where'd you get that from?
Lime?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I don't want it.
No.
It's just
I'll
like
grab
when
it.
you hold it.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
it's
Like we
not
just didn't
stuck.
have-
No,
Okay.
actually, oh, it's got like the little
Yeah, it's like
space in
Jonathan's.
between.
Wait, are you interested in the Surface Pro?
Another one?
Another one?
No, I mean, we got.
Put them side by side.
I would need specs and a price.
You go first.
You're lost, actually.
How much you
Well,
want?
Okay, we're back in 1 minute, guys, so somebody can go get
We'll make this an action.
Oh, then I'm
Thank you, Jackie.
Actually, we have one. We have one.
You're making me look like a liar.
Should have told them we're starting now, and then they'll be here in 1 minute. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. How was your break? Good. I know yours was good, right? You got some delicious Mexican food. Gretel, how was your break? All right. I hope everyone else's break was good. Now we're going to be talking about Tamagotchi pets. I don't think any of you, yeah, do you remember what those are?
That's like
I had to have one like 2 days ago.
Really? Yes. Yeah. So, was it a good dream about Tamagotchi
I
pets?
just think it was like in it. I don't remember like what, just that like it was in it. There was like one on the floor. And I don't know. Usually I have very vivid dreams, but I don't really remember.
Right, but you remember they were Tamagotchi
Yeah.
pets?
Like, I had one of those, like,
Tamagotchi,
that
yeah.
was-
Oh my gosh. Okay. Got it. Okay, everyone, laptops down. We're focusing
Focusing on
on
Tamagotchi.
focusing on Tamagotchis. Yes. Very important we learn about this tool. Actually, we're not going to be learning about the tool. We're going to be learning about the project, which we are going to do with this tool, with this toy. So remember Tamagotchis. They were those little toys that contained digital pets, which you could feed. I hate it that I can't make it bigger and have it like wrap. Is there a way to do that? Anyone know? I don't think there is. Remember Tamagotchis. They were those little toys that contained digital pets, which you could feed, pet, play with, and care for. Kind of like Furbies, but a whole lot less terrifying. Yeah, those Furbies were terrifying. Do you guys remember those? The puppets? Yeah. Over the next 30 minutes or so, you are going to create a basic Tamagotchi clone using constructors. So we are going to create a constructor called Digital Pal, which will create 4 properties and 4 methods. The first property is hungry, and it initially starts out as false. Second property, sleepy, initially starts out at false. The third property is bored and initially starts out as true. The fourth property is age and it initially starts out at 0. The first method is feed. If hungry is true, print that was yummy. Set hungry to false and then set sleepy to true. If hungry is false, print no thanks, I'm full. The second method is sleep. If sleep is true, print zzz. If set sleepy and then set sleepy to false because we got our Z's and we are no longer sleepy. Then set bored to true because we just woke up and then we're bored. And then run increase age because every time we wake up older. Yeah, kind of a terrifying thought. Yeah. Okay, the third method is play. If bored is set to true, print yay, let's play. If bored is set to false, then set hungry to true because you don't want to play unless you're hungry. Okay, so you guys getting the idea of this. The fourth method is increase age. This method is called by the sleep. It makes you older by sleeping. Create a variable named dog that is set to a new digital pal. So we're going to create our constructor. Then we're going to instantiate an instance of the constructor using the new keyword. And we're going to name it digital pal. Only it should be lowercase d since it's an instance and not a constructor. No, it'll create a new digital pal, capital D constructor. And its name is going to be dog. Then outside is going to be initially set to false. Bark is going to print woof woof. Go outside, go outside. It does a bunch of stuff. Make a second variable named cat. It's going to say meow, blah, blah, blah. Play around. So how do you guys want to do this? Do you want to mob on this?
Mob.
Mob. Yeah, let's mob. Yes, you can, but try to not go off on any tangents. Try to like stay focused on what we're doing. And then if you need, if you're like, how do I do this? If we're all trying to figure out how to do something, you can go ahead and look it up. But if you are the type of person that has trouble focusing and paying attention, it might be good to just be like laptop down and engage with the class and follow along. Because this is, yeah, because this is where we get some really good, good practice, you know, working with our peers and talking intelligently about tech. So Sublime Text is open. I'm going to open up a new, we can just close all of these things. Okay, it's all yours. Who wants to drive first?
I'll do it.
You'll do it? All right. Okay, so what are we doing first, guys? We're making construction function, right?
I can't see the other stuff. Oh, we have to.
Bar digital pal. It's open too in the browser.
It's function.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ETAs equals bar digital pal.
It's function?
Yeah, you can do it that way. I prefer to do it the other way with the variable, but you guys can do it that way. Yeah, we can use let. Let's use let.
Yeah.
Should I leave it like that?
Our driver's in the crash, telling him to go left.
Why is this doesn't?
Oh, why isn't it coloring it in?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
so
gotta
just
set it in
JavaScript.
JavaScript.
Yeah, no, you
JavaScript
just
is
ask
fast.
It's alphabetical.
What is it?
Yeah, right there.
Right there. Nelson, please.
Be nice to the driver, guys. It's hard being up there.
Yeah.
The backseat driver.
Well, we're doing that.
We're gonna do let.
Okay, everyone, let's focus. Okay, so we can do it that way. Nelson, you're not thinking though.
Well, wait.
So this is not
Let.
So we have to establish for the parameters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What were the parameters? Were what?
hungry.
Hungry.
Sleepy.
But I'm still down.
Sorry.
Wait, we should
Hungry.
Comma, sleepy,
What do you guys remember all this?
bored.
They're reading it.
It's in the slide.
Board.
Oh, there it is.
Age, and that's it. That's it, so erase the last comma,
We don't need any more?
no, erase the last comma. Yeah, and then let's go into, yeah.
Well, hungry, sleepy, that's the methods.
So this
This
is.
dot hungry.
No, these are booleans, they're not methods yet, we're just doing properties.
This, that hungry equal hungry.
False, no.
Yeah, this dot hungry.
False.
No,
Yeah.
This,
Then
this dot hungry equals false.
equal false, yeah.
Oh, because we're not ever passing in hungry or sleepy. So that means what? If we're not passing in hungry or sleepy, then they're always false. Did you guys hear that? Did you hear that, Nelson?
Yeah.
Take it out of the constructor. Because it's always gonna, hungry and sleepy is always gonna be false. So take out the two arguments. On the first, wait, stop. First line, take out those two.
Next one.
This one also?
Yeah, that one also. Just those, bored and age, because hungry and sleepy are always gonna start out as true every time.
But board and also.
Technically, you don't need any of them. You
Yeah.
take all of them out, actually.
Yeah, all of them besides the
All you need
age.
is a name.
Oh, wait, yeah, they don't have the
It
age.
starts at 0. So-
It starts at
You
zero.
get
All you need
rid of
is a
all the
name.
parameters.
Yeah, so all we need is a name. So we're gonna pass, tell me what to do, everyone. I don't-
This dot hungry equals false.
Well,
Wait, what are we doing, what are we missing on line one, first of all?
It said
the
name.
Okay, awesome, tell him how to do that, Jack.
so in your parentheses, put in name. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay,
And
so
then we're
now we're gonna go and set all the stuff that needs to be false to false, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so.
So,
So this dot,
This dot name equals name.
We named it.
no, it's, we're,
This,
We've got too many people.
this dot name equals name.
okay, yeah, so they wanna put that one first. So let's do hungry first, since we're already here. You guys, when we're in the middle of coding a line, like, kind of see with the one thing that we're doing, and then insert here. So this dot hungry, this dot name equals name, and what is hungry gonna be, everyone?
False.
False. Okay, what else are we setting to false?
sleepy,
Sleepy.
Sleepy is false,
It's not sleepy.
and age is gonna start out at 0, right?
Well-
We're gonna mute that.
And we
okay,
have
wait, we have,
Board
okay,
equals true.
see, this dot board equals true. Right?
Or, and then age starts where?
Zero.
Okay, and is that it for the parameters?
Yeah.
For the
Now we gotta
properties?
move to
Yeah,
another.
now we move on to functions.
Now we move on to methods.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what's the first method?
So let's add an extra line to separate them.
Okay. Sounds good.
This dot feed.
Is that what?
Feed
FEED.
equals function. Parentheses, and then curly bracket.
Outside of the parentheses, curly bracket.
Yes. And, if this dot hungry equals true,
Console log.
yeah, triple equals.
Oh, I don't need this.
Yep, you know, you're just.
Yeah, no, he's right.
We don't need this.
No, wait, can you just do that since they default to true?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can just do that.
If this dot hungry, then console dot log.
That was yummy.
Console.
Dot log, parentheses,
Um,
quote, that was yummy, exclamation point.
Repeat that.
That was yummy. And we do an else.
Secomio.
Y-U-M-M-Y. Y-U-M-M-Y. And then
That one?
exclamation point. Yep.
All right,
And then else.
actually, let's put return and then just put at the end of it, what else?
Yeah, you can do it that way too.
All right, so get rid of the else, just undo all of that.
Oh no, I lost it.
Okay.
All
Right here?
So within the curly brackets after the console log, before the.
We can return the console log.
Yeah, you can return the console log.
Oh, okay.
Right here?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, you were saying put return after, so it takes you out of the if statement.
The if statement and out of the function. I'll just return the value that console log returns, which is nothing, and then return out of it too. So that's just a way, it's just two different ways of doing it. So then what's the next thing we're
So
gonna
then
do?
After that, we're going to console log on the next line.
Here?
No, put a new line. There you go. And then index, and then console.log, no thanks, parentheses, quotes, no thanks, exclamation point, I'm full, period.
And for what?
Period. And then a semicolon at the end of it.
Okay, what's the next method we're at?
All right, so.
Method sleepy, sleep, sorry.
Okay, so tell them what to write exactly.
This dot
sleep
equals function.
Well, we wrote sleepy before, so just add a Y.
No, sleepy
sorry,
is a
sorry.
property in
Oh
this.
my God.
Yeah.
But this sleepy,
Curly brackets.
No, I was wrong, I was wrong, okay.
So you only have to define this hungry is before the true.
But the,
Yeah, but
it's already.
that's a property.
Oh, wait a second, I forgot something in this .p.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, it has to set hungry to false.
Yeah, so before the return line, this .hungry equals false. Okay, so now back to sleep.
No,
Wait,
this
no,
is
wait,
hungry
yeah.
true. That was yummy. Said hungry to false.
Oh, yeah, shoot. I'm sorry. A lot of detail.
Wait, set hungry to
Yep, it
false.
says,
If hungry is true.
back to the feed again. After this dot hungry equals false, you want to say this dot sleepy equals true. Because when you eat, you get the itis.
That is like
Right?
You're making an operator, to be honest.
Okay, so what about sleep? What is that's gonna do? It's gonna
Alright,
make
so
us
let's
also-
read this one carefully. If sleepy, so if parentheses sleepy,
This?
This does.
this dot sleepy, yeah.
This dot sleepy.
Then we're going to sleepy, this dot sleepy equals false. This dot hungry equals true.
Board is already.
Oh, bored, sorry.
Yeah.
By default.
I'm reading the wrong one. This dot board equals true.
Which one is it?
And then you're gonna do
This dot.
this dot increase age.
Increase age is a method.
Yeah.
That we need to
But
create.
we haven't.
Yeah, that's fine.
But we can still set it up.
That's fine, we can set it up. and then
Parentheses,
Yeah.
close parentheses, semicolon. And then the last one is gonna be return console.log.
Do you wanna have the return console.log first before we do?
No, because then it will quit out the one.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be a bunch of Z's. Z, 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 Z.
Oh,
Pick a number. There you go. Alright, cool.
that doesn't like fun.
And then after the curly bracket, it's going to console.log.
No, oh, wait,
Quote, no way, exclamation point. I'm not tired, period. When you create a function, do you need to put semicolons after the?
No.
Okay, there's self-closing.
There's no closing.
Alright, so you're
If
actually gonna want
statements,
to.
functions, for loops, any kind of loop, if statement, function,
Okay.
are all the stuff closing ones.
So after the curly bracket, we don't need semicolon.
No, no, sir.
Alright. So, you want to actually go after that curly bracket?
Which one? This one?
No, after the next one.
This?
Yep, we're gonna create another, object function.
Method.
Or method, yeah.
Okay.
This dot play equals function. Alright. If this dot board.
Excuse me, thank you.
This dot board equals false.
And guys, the rest of the class, Sam is not the only.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I took the wheel on that. Does anyone else want?
He's an excellent navigator.
This is a learning opportunity for all of us. We're laptops up and trying to stay focused, trying to stay engaged.
Thank you.
In fact, let's get a new driver. Let's give us a hand. Okay, everyone tell Sam what to do. We're on board. So let's do this. Let's start making the distinction between the plain English logic and our in the weeds syntactic coding. So what are the instructions for the play method?
We're first checking to see if the object's property of board is set to true. If it is, we're going to set it to false, and then we're also going to set its hungry property to true.
Okay, so that's the next thing that we need to do is set what?
Hungry to true, so this dot hungry equals true.
Okay, and then if they aren't bored, what happens?
So we also need to return console log, yay, exclamation point, let's play, exclamation point.
Let's play what?
Exclamation.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, you don't need yes.
The whole point of the return thing is so that you don't need it.
Because it quits out of the function. For those of you who didn't understand this part, it quits out of the function when we return. So the console log is the last thing that it's going to do. And then it quits out of the function so it doesn't do anything else after that. So that's why we can use that instead of an else.
And then console.log, not right now, period, later question mark.
Okay, good. So we're done with the play function. What's the next thing we need to do? Increase age. And what happens when we increase age? What does it say? No, it's not a timer.
Called by the sweep method.
Yeah, it's just getting called. So we just do age equals age plus 1? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. This dot age, sorry. Equals this dot age plus 1. Or, yeah, or you could say plus equals 1.
Oh.
Yeah, you could do plus equals 1, or you could do it that way too. I usually don't like doing it that way.
Because if you want to change the increment, then you
Yeah,
have
plus
to.
equals 1, or you could also do this dot age equals plus this dot age. So,
Oh, okay.
there's different ways you can do it, but,
What way do you like to do it?
yeah, I
the
would have
best?
done it that way, and then put an equal sign before the pluses.
Oh.
In space. So there's several ways to skin a cat. Keep saying.
Skin a digital pal.
Digital. Yes, skin your digital pal.
And then it's going to, on the next line, return console log.
I guess we don't need to return it, but.
Yeah, we don't need to return. It's just gonna be okay.
Wait, I shouldn't be thinking, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Happy birthday to me, exclamation point. Please capitalize that. After the exclamation point, space, I am. And another space. And then a plus sign outside of the quotation. And then we'll do this H.
Guys, everyone, feel free to jump in to group conversation. You're letting it be dominated by one person. That's not good. This is a microcosm of your whole career, right? So, the way if you're scared to jump in now in a class, I imagine that's going to be like a job interview or at work.
But this is more organized because at the beginning, we were all talking at the same time and it was a.
Maybe we should, Jonathan, maybe we should try pair programming.
Yeah, well, I gave you guys that option. You rejected it first because there was too much new stuff, but we can try it. Okay, so what's next?
Wait, we forgot to add all before exclamation point.
Oh.
This is young.
No space.
More wrong
Actually, yeah, there's a space. Yeah, I added to the conversation.
Yes, good conversation. Okay.
Wait,
Melvin.
Melvin.
Ironically, the same thing happens in my work.
Okay.
There's a guy working in Dawson.
Alright, anyway, that was just a joke.
Is that it? Is that it for the thing?
So we're done with the constructor, so we have to close the constructor.
You need to make it say something initially, because it's initially.
Oh, so what is it supposed to say? I don't have.
Or. Because all
Close
the
it,
methods aren't
right?
going to immediately capitalize.
Yep. Wait a second.
What do you mean initialize?
Where did you see that in the instructions though?
No, it's not in the instructions, but if you don't, like, it's not gonna say, if you run that,
Oh.
that code is not gonna say anything.
Right, not yet. We're gonna create a new. Wait, so what is it supposed to do when you create a new cat? Is it supposed to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it supposed to say?
Well, so the next part is we're gonna create a variable named dog.
Yeah, so now we're talking about.
That'll be able to actually say stuff.
I get constructor now.
Right now, there's just a constructor that doesn't do.
Right, that doesn't do
That's-
anything. Yeah, so the constructor should be good the way it is. So let's talk about that next thing. We're gonna create an instance of our constructor, call it dog, and so can you read that whole thing again?
Yeah, the instruction itself says create a variable named dog that is set to a new digital pal before adding the following unique properties and methods to it. So let's, I guess, just do the first part of creating a variable and setting it to a new.
So bar dog.
Bar dog.
Yeah.
New space.
Digital pal.
Oh, right, because it's object.
Take out the name argument and give it
Yep.
That's why we're.
What is,
Yeah, we don't really need the name argument, do we?
No,
No, we don't.
that's why we were confused in the beginning.
Don't you make dog?
Yeah, but there would be a lot of use cases where you would wanna have the name attached to the, instance like the
It
constructor.
helps you bond with it.
Hey, you're not supposed to think of the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so now that we have the name in the constructor though, it has to be added. Otherwise, we can take the name out of the constructor. Let's just do that. Let's just do that. We don't name our dogs, we just call them dog.
dog?
Hey, dog.
Okay, so what are the parameters with this dog?
Dog that outside the walls.
We need to.
Wait, outside?
Another function.
Yeah, because we need to add unique properties and methods to this
Yeah.
specific instance.
Oh, okay, so we'll do that last. So what are the props? Can somebody read the whole instruction?
Create a variable named dog that is set to a new digital pal before adding the following unique properties and methods to it. Outside is initially set to false. The function bark prints out woof woof when run. Go outside function, where if outside is false, prints yay, I love the outdoors. Set outside to true and runs bark. If outside is true, prints we're already outside though.
Okay, so does everyone understand this? We're adding things that are unique to our dog that wouldn't be there for other types of digital pets. So how are we gonna do this? We created our dog, right? Now how do we add a new property to the dog? Would anyone like to take a guess? That is a great guess. Let's try that.
You should never push your dog.
Dog, actually, it's not dog that, it's just dog, what is the property that we're saying? What is the first thing?
Go outside.
Dog, go outside, so we're gonna do it just like that, right? Dog, dot.
But no, just outside, just outside, just outside.
Okay, dog, dot outside, so that's a boolean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and what's gonna be false? So you, Sam, you're gonna type what? What is Sam gonna type? Somebody else contributed it. Equals false. Okay, what's the next thing that we're gonna say?
Bark, the function bark.
Just a method.
Bark. Dog, bark. Okay, somebody who hasn't contributed yet, tell them what to do here.
To set into a function, the console logs woof woof or in front.
Okay, so what does that look like in code though?
It equals function.
Function.
And the curly brackets, and then just put the console log.
No, you need an if.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you don't. No, you just
Oh, no, you're right, sorry.
Wait, where, if it's outside?
No, there's no
bark.
if.
Bark.
Not at this
Well-
point.
Doesn't wolf.
Console
Oh, yeah, come to that line, yeah.
Woof woof woof.
Quotations.
What was it again?
Okay.
No, it's when they're outside.
Oh, okay, so now the next one.
So-
Yeah, when you run the function.
So, that was 40 minutes. No, it's not.
Alright,
Go
next
outside.
one,
It's.
dog, go outside. Equals function.
Oh.
If.
This dot outside.
Equals.
No, just put a
Or yeah, you put exclamation. that's what it is,
exclamation
not
point.
Yeah.
Console logs.
Console, yeah. Yay, I love the
And then we have to change outside to true, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before the console log.
You can do it, you just do enter, return.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
This dot outside equals.
Oh, actually, you can't return a setter like that. You can
Yeah.
return a method call, but not a setter. So the console log, you should return the console log and set the outside.
Equals.
True.
And then on the next line, this dot bark parentheses.
We're gonna bark. Then what happens if we are outside already?
Console logs are already outside.
You're already outside.
Right?
That's okay.
Are we boring?
He's bored.
Alright, next method,
Copy dog that go outside.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
And you just wanna change what
You want to put it right here?
Yes. And go outside.
Go outside. And then outside.
So we're checking now to see if it already is outside, right? So,
Yeah, so get rid of that exclamation.
yeah. Okay. Get rid of the exclamation mark. Okay, then we're gonna set this dot outside to false.
I would keep doing that. That's my last name.
Falco.
Well, if I continue.
Get rid of this stuff, or.
Yeah.
No barking inside.
Side, and then you're gonna say, what is he gonna say?
I'm already, no, do we have,
Yeah.
do we have
Do we
to
have to
sign?
question mark, fine, dot, dot, dot.
It's a very PD thought.
No, it's not.
And then the second console log.
I mean, he's a B, you just not have to.
I'm already inside.
Take the,
Think everyone else thought about it.
Okay, what's next?
second variable for cat.
The console log says we are, should be.
Okay, I wanna change drivers now.
Okay.
Typically, we'll time it for like 10 minutes, but I'm just estimating. Who's next?
Oh, jeez. There we go.
No, nobody ever said your name. So you just really want to drive.
And yeah, I guess Sam's right, save it as something in case the computer crashes.
Oh, I thought it was already.
Okay, good enough.
It'll be later.
Alright, what's next, folks?
Okay, now we're doing the same thing for cats, right? So what is the first thing we're gonna do, everyone, to create our cat? Same as we did with the dog, we're gonna do what?
Our cat equals.
New digital pal, and then what goes at the end, parenthesis, then what? Semicolon. Okay, and what do we call this process, what we just did here? Instantiating a new digital pal. Awesome. Okay, what's next? What are we adding to the cat that's unique?
Bobby, the dog, and face.
House condition.
Especially the bark part.
Oh, no, sorry, yeah, dog, yeah, cat, dog. Is equal to 100.
House condition?
It says it was set to 100, but not for long. Okay, enter. Cat dog, meow. Actually, yeah.
Equals. Function.
And so on and so on.
Exclamation point after the other.
Oh, God.
Hey, this is very critical comment.
More very energetic cat. But that was like.
Let's be consistent.
Yeah, it was.
All animals.
Enter. Take out the cat.
Is there anything else in there?
Outside of the.
Oh, that's, I forgot.
There you go.
Oh, there's more functions.
Destroy.
Cat, destroy.
Oh, that's great.
After that, cat dies.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, right?
Cat dot meow, cat dot meow, cat dot meow.
Sorry.
Let's see.
After that, there's the owner that killed the cat.
Self-destruct.
This that what?
House condition. Minus equals 10.
I'm feeling uncomfortable.
Poor cat.
Cat regenerate. That's nice.
Do you have cats too, Jackie?
No, I just.
What?
I'm glad you watched the video.
Amenities. Wahaha.
Oh my god, really? Is that what it does?
Seriously.
Can I get some spelling on the Mohaha?
MUAHAHAHA.
That's exactly how my friend says it when we text it.
Then purposely put a bug and crash the program.
Inside the comment.
Cat
also
destroy
put-
program.
What?
Yeah, take the furniture.
After the parentheses.
Wait, you still added need add more. There you go. More than cons now.
Take
After.
There's like a million people talking at once, and they're all saying different parts of the same sentence.
Instead of
Right.
console.error,
Do console.
console.error.
Return.
Yeah, but don't have them do that.
So before this is what you're saying?
Wait, don't take instructions from the TAs, you're working with the class.
Delete that line. Add that attack.
Take that furniture.
Boo-ha-ha, take that furniture. Wow, they really like went in with this. They're really serious about their not liking cats.
Okay, on line
With
68.
an exclamation point.
So you have to do 69 return console log because you want to change board and switch.
This dot board. And we're gonna, you have to go set it to false.
And sleepy has to be set to zero.
No, isn't that nice? They want to take a nap after this trying.
Oh, this should be a for loop though.
67 should be inside of an if statement.
No.
Wait, so somebody read the instructions.
Yes,
The plain English, let's do the plain English first.
For destroy furniture, increases house condition by 10, and brings Wahaha take that furniture to the screen. Also sets board to false, and sleep bitter true. If house condition is equal to 0, then they should not run it.
Oh, okay.
So at the beginning.
Yeah, so that was my mistake.
If this dot, if parentheses, this dot house condition triple equals 0.
Greater than 0.
Oh, I was just gonna say return and then do it.
Yeah, is equal, yeah, so that's,
Yeah, triple
you could
equals 0.
say if this dot house condition is less than 1, this is actually the better.
Oh,
way to do
yeah,
it.
you're right.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's better to use like less than's instead of equal sign.
Less than 1,
Is less than 1,
Then
then we'll just
return.
return.
Delete.
semicolon. And you can get rid of the return after the console. Yeah.
Okay, what's the next thing, our lovely cat?
Buy new furniture.
I want to get a cat
Seriously,
now.
what's the next thing?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, that's it?
No,
Okay.
that's my new furniture.
How's the joke?
Not everything I say is a joke.
How can you have my new furniture?
Wait,
It's a very, it's only the Japanese cats, it's a good point.
Oh, yeah. That would be nice.
Oh, yeah, whoops.
Money equals money minus 50.
Okay, so are we supposed to run these functions and make them do stuff at the end?
I have no idea, this is a
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
What does it say at the end of
Play
this?
around.
At the end, it says bonus, make it so your Tamagotchis run off of user input from the command line. It may sound easy at first, but this can actually be quite challenging.
We're not gonna do that because we're not using Node for this. If you guys were using Node for this, we would do that. Okay, I'm gonna jump into the controls again. Give Dan a round of applause.
Woo, Dan.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do this. Good job, everyone. Give yourselves all a round of applause. That was good. Okay, so now all we're going to do is just we're just going to copy all of this, just paste it into the JavaScript console. What we could also do is run it in Node, obviously, but Node is not installed on this computer. So I just do all of this. So now I can play around. I can do cat dot. Yeah, so this cat.destroy furniture thing is not showing up.
I think it did.
Oh, yeah, it did. So now I can destroy the furniture. Muhaha, take that furniture.
And then like if I run it 10 times, it shouldn't run anymore. Eventually, after I do this enough times, after it scratches the furniture, enough times, there won't be any furniture left.
No more just running.
Wait. Yeah, no more. It's undefined now. Okay. Okay, what else do we want to play with? Can we make... Let's play with the dog. Cats are boring. So the dog, we can see the dog's age is 0. We can make the dog sleep. No, I'm not tired. He's not tired.
Dog.play. We're all signed.
Dog.play, yes.
Imagine if you actually have everything.
Yeah, let's play. Now I can make him sleep. No, he's still not tired. I found him. Yeah, he should. I heard after playing. Dog.go outside. Go outside.
He's already outside.
Yeah, I love the outdoors. Now I'm gonna make him go inside. We have to, fine. Now I'm gonna make him sleep. He's still not sleeping though. This is weird. So let's take a look at this. This does sleep. So if sleepy equals true, wait. So if this dot sleepy is false.
Console log dog.sleepy.
If this dot sleepy. Oh, so here's the problem. We just needed this exclamation point, because if it is not sleepy, then we're going to set sleepy to false. Otherwise, if sleepy is false, it's going to say, no way, I'm not sleepy.
Then let's change that for hungry as well.
And then we're going to change it for hungry as well. Okay, so let's try to make our dog sleep.
How about Ben?
Yeah, if you put him to sleep.
What?
Go back to the code.
Okay, so
You're saying that after that, this does sleep is gonna be false again?
If hungry is true, you have to set it to false, so the exclamation point will work.
If you are hungry, false. So if you're not hungry, then we're gonna feed you. Then we're gonna set hungry to false because you've eaten, right? So we're assuming that we're actually feeding the dog here. So if we're not hungry, then the dog's going to eat. And then we're going to set hungry back to false. Then we're going to set sleepy to true.
No, wait, if you're not hungry, the dog's going to eat.
Wait.
The dog is hungry. But no, the hungry is initially set as false. And I thought that's where you put the information.
If hungry, yeah. So hungry should be true if.
Yeah, that's correct. It's where, when you, on the play should set sleepy to true.
Play should set sleepy to true.
Yeah. Right there, which doesn't.
Oh, so that's all we were missing?
Was that missing in the instructions?
No, I think we missed it. It was there in the instructions, which is why, to show you guys sort of what happened, you guys all got really interested in what we're going to write next, the syntax, but I noticed like not very many people kept reading the instructions over and over again, getting clear on what we're actually doing in plain English, which is what's really going to help us out. It doesn't say?
So then what gets in?
It just says
Playing will get him sleepy.
Because,
Well, no,
because
but then
it sets
second
hungry to
one-
true, so now you have to feed it, and then it goes to sleep.
Right.
Oh, okay. So it says hungry to true.
So first you feed him and then he gets sleepy.
Okay, so I have to take it. So it was working fine. So he's saying, no, I'm not tired, so I'm going to feed him first. Wow, this is like having a real
Well,
dog.
remember you have to copy the code and paste it again.
No, because nothing changed.
Oh, you didn't take it?
No, nothing changed. It's working the way it should. So now we feed him. Now he should sleep. Now he's sleeping. And it's saying, happy birthday to me. I'm 1 year old. And
No, he didn't change anything. It was regular.
so it should actually say the year after, but that's okay. I'm pretty done with it. How do you guys feel about this exercise? Okay, good. I'm glad. You guys are doing really well. A lot of classes don't get this stuff or are really confused on it, so I think you guys are doing well. So we're going to talk about a few other related topics, which we only get to if we have time, if you guys are doing well, which you are. So we'll do this. One such topic is the topic of prototypes. So what are prototypes in JavaScript? Well, basically a lot of languages that some of you who have computer programming experience may be familiar with, like Java, the more classical object-oriented languages like Java and C++, have the notion of inheritance, right? Where you will make one type of object and that will inherit to another type of object, which will inherit to another type of object. An example of this would be like, say you have customer records, right? So you would have one object called customer, and then several different things might inherit from that. You might have government customers, and then you might have business-to-business customers, and then you might have individual customers. So you would have a class for each of those: individual customer, business-to-business customer, government customer. And those would all inherit from the main customer class, because there were some things that would all be the same. They'll all have a phone number. They'll all have an address. They'll all have a point of contact, right? But then some things will be different. A lot of times we'll have different things we want to keep track of for our government contract or government customers, as we do for our non-government customers, and also our individual customers. Jackie, this should be pretty. That should make sense to you, right? I thought you'd like that example. So for this reason, we have schemas. So to give a quick definition, we've talked about schemas before. A schema is basically just like a blueprint for data. It defines what the structure of your data should be. So we have schemas, we have classes that function as schemas, and they inherit from other schemas. So basically you have customers, you have some things that all customers will have in common, you have some things that just your business-to-business customers will have in common, some things that just your government customers will have in common, etc. And then you can even have things that inherit from that, like for the government contracts. Some of them might be state government, some of them might be federal government. You have different pieces of information that you have to keep track of for each of those. Does that make sense to you guys? So you have things that inherit from other things. So in languages like Java that are full object-oriented languages, you have what is called class-based inheritance, or class inheritance, which means that you have classes that inherit from other classes. When JavaScript was first engineered in 10 days, they didn't think to give it classes because they wanted it to be like Scheme. The developer who created it liked Scheme, and he thought things should be functional like Scheme, and then they added all of the Java-ness that's kind of like an afterthought to make it more accessible. So what he did, instead of doing classical or class-based inheritance, was he decided to do something called prototype-based inheritance, which is a little bit more Lispy, a little bit more like something that would be in a language like Lisp or Scheme, which in fact do have prototype-based inheritance. So let me give you an example of how this works. If I create a new string with some text, you will see that there are methods and properties that are already attached to this. Like, for instance, length is always going to be a property of any string that you create, right? Another property of this string is going to be, well, you have all of these. So I could say char at like 3, that's a method, and it will give me the character at 3 characters in, starting counting from 0, right? Some other methods and properties that string has by default. It can change the font color. You can change the font size. You can get the index of a certain character. We've used this one before, right? You guys remember using this? So we say, what's the index of S? S is at index 0. So all of these methods and properties basically come for free, packaged with a string. Anytime we make a string, it comes with all of these methods and properties. Now, what if we want to add our own method and property, or our own method or property to this? What we could do is type string, because string is just shorthand. I can do this, some text, and it does exactly the same thing as that, as this, right? They're the same thing. They both construct a string with all the same methods and properties. So what I could do if I want to add a new method to string, capitalize is one that we've used before. I don't know if I could write that one down. TAs, could you look up a string.capitalize function?
To uppercase?
No, capitalize. To uppercase is an existing method or property. We're going to make a, capitalize.
Yeah.
We are going to make, but it's usually called capitalize. You don't have to. So we're going to make a new method of string, and we're going to call it title case or capitalize. I like capitalize better, so I'm going to use that. And we don't need to do that. So I'm just going to make this equal a function. So we're setting a new method to this string prototype, much as the same way as we did with our dog and our cat. So how does this work, Jonathan? If you could Slack it to me. I'll just go ahead and look it up on Stack Overflow.
You know, we just break the string by the space and take the car out.
Yeah, but there's like some edge cases and stuff. String, capitalize, JS. Work. Okay, so somebody gave us this algorithm that'll do it. So we're just getting the character at 0.2 uppercase plus string.slice 1. So let's go back to here. That's wrong. Okay, so we're gonna go back to here. Just gonna paste this in.
You're only doing it for the first word, right?
Yeah, only for the first word. And this is just an example. It doesn't really, this is just to demonstrate how the prototype works. So now if I do my Q, you'll see I can do Q dot to the Q dot capitalize. So when I do this, oh, okay. So I see what I did wrong. I just copied in all of this stuff from Stack Overflow. So this needs to be the contextual this instead.
There's another string.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I gotta read stuff. Okay, so again, contextual this. And now I should be good. So it makes it some text, but that was already capitalized. So let's make a new variable called Q. Gonna make this lowercase. Q equals that, and then I can do Q dot capitalize, and it makes the lowercase. So you guys see what I'm trying to show you with this, right? You have this prototypical inheritance that JavaScript was built with, and we can extend it if we want. Now, one drawback of extending prototypes for things like strings is they can sometimes cause errors if you have other frameworks that work on strings, and sometimes it'll like iterate over all of the methods for a string and call them. So people say that doing things like adding this capitalized method to the string prototype can get you in trouble. I have it seems pretty benign to me, pretty harmless. I think it's fine to do things this way. Also, some developers, when they tried to bring in more object-oriented Java style paradigm of programming into JavaScript, they decided to use prototype to extend some of the classes or modules that they were building. One library that makes extensive use of prototypical inheritance is YUI. They have their whole app structured using object-oriented programming by using prototype to sort of try to imitate basically the style of programming that people do in Java. It's not very common that people will use prototype just for their everyday programming, although some programmers, like it's one paradigm, is the prototypical inheritance paradigm as well as the object-oriented paradigm, which we learned. Make sense to everyone? You guys are doing great. It's only 9 o'clock. We sometimes don't even have time to cover this by 9:30, so you guys are doing really well. Any questions on prototypes before we move on? Yeah, Nelson.
Once you add that method to the string object, it will remain there as long as the application is running?
It will remain there as long as the application is running, yes. So if I like make a new text, I'm gonna call this one W equals some more text. And then I can just do W dot capitalize, and it will do that. So you can continue to use this, which becomes pretty useful.
That's not persistent, but doesn't change anything in the browser.
No, it won't change anything in the browser. Good question. Any other questions on this? Okay. So we are going to switch gears and talk about homework. First, week 10 homework, and then week 11 homework. How is your week 10 homework coming? Pretty good. You guys are going to finish it by tonight? Go home and jam on it? How many people are like almost done? Feel good about getting it done by tonight? Okay, I just have to write the README. I like that. How many people want more time? Okay, a few of you, not too many people raising your hands. So you guys come get with me individually if you need more time. So you're kind of the minority here. But you can't have more time. Just come ask me for it. And you'll get it. Okay, so what came up for you guys? For those of you who did well with this homework, what worked for you?
Reading a lot of documents.
Reading a lot of documentation. I like that.
Yeah, just trying to, for each individual NPM, trying to get a baseline I could read. That way I could better figure out what code I need to put into the script to get the information I need out of it.
Okay, so you would like console.log, the result it gave you in JSON and look at it. Yeah, okay, I like that. What else worked for you guys? Teamwork. Yes.
That was it too. I would console.log the response to see how I would start to parse it, and then I also threw myself an error that taught me something about it.
Okay, cool. Growing errors, good. Okay, so what, yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody came across this. I was working on 2 different computers, and every time I would go to the other computer, I would have to reinstall some of the packages.
Yeah, so why is that happening? Anyone like to take a guess?
Is it probably like the ignore didn't upload the?
No, so here's what's happening. When you run npm install, it pulls down the files and installs it on your local system. That's all it does. So then when you go and move it to another computer, it reinstalls. So I'm gonna show you guys a little bit about how to mitigate this. Even though I don't have Node on this computer, I'll just sort of show you guys.
Isn't that where the dot save, dot.
Yes, that is exactly where it comes in. Yeah, that's about what I was gonna get to. So yeah, I'll just explain this since I can't really demo it on this computer. But basically, you have, with NPM, you have what is called a project.json file, and that contains all of the names of the dependencies that you're installing. So if you use the --save, it'll add the name of the NPM library that you're installing to that package.json file. And then once you do that, then you can run npm install. If you just write npm install without the name of the package, it'll go look at your package.json file and it will install for you automatically anything that you're missing. So that's the way to get around that problem you're having. Use the --save. It'll add the name of that package to the JSON file, and then when you load it onto a new computer, then you're going to do the install. npm install, and it'll automatically pull down all of those dependencies for you.
So if we don't put that --save, it won't put in the JSON file?
It won't put it in the JSON file. Yeah. And you're going to really need that when we get to working with Heroku, because what Heroku does is it re-downloads all of the dependencies from NPM and then installs them again. Heroku is the web server that we'll be using.
Oh, Jonathan, quick thing. Actually, Nick pointed this out Saturday with the new NPM, the one they just released a few weeks ago. You don't have to do the save anymore. It
Oh, it
saves
automatically?
Yep.
Okay, so
Newest
as of
release.
a couple weeks ago, it does it for you automatically.
Well, I was getting errors on my terminal.
Well, do it the old way then. Maybe you guys don't have the newest version of NPM installed. If you installed it more than a couple of weeks ago, you don't have the latest version. It doesn't auto update. So just use the --save for now.
Yeah.
Sometimes the old way turns out.
Because I wasn't using the --save, and I was getting errors.
We shouldn't get an error.
Not in errors, I wouldn't see the package loaded.
Oh, you have to create the package. You have to init it first.
Right, I would do init and then, enter, and put the GitHub on everything, the licensing, everything that it returns, and then yes. And then I would just do Spotify install and.
NPM install Spotify.
Right, and then I wouldn't see it, the folder listed.
It should be listed in the node module. So
Right, in
it
the
should-
node module.
Oh, that's a
So
different
I would.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
different issue.
And then I would go back and do it and do --save, and then I'd go back and it'd be.
Oh, that's weird.
Maybe in the directory, because it should pull it down to the node modules whether you use --save or not.
Do you
So
know
you
if
have
you-
some other problem going on there?
Do you know if you added like -G in there?
No.
Okay,
I
well-
did get a couple prompts to update NPM.
Okay, we're gonna get with you on this individually, Jack, because it's kind of taking us away. from
All
what we're
right,
doing as a class.
Jonathan, thanks a lot.
No, I'm sorry, I will get with you
You
on
asked the
individually, but we have 20 plus people whose attention we have to keep here, so it's a hard thing to do. Okay. Not you guys specifically, Melvin. Okay, so what else do we have questions on? Were there any questions? What was hard for you guys on the homework? Twitter API was hard. So when you install the NPM packages, though, you just install the NPM package, then you read the documentation, figure out what are the parameters you give it. There are only going to be a few ones. For Spotify, it's going to be like the type of query you're doing, the name of the song, or whatever you're searching by. Spotify, it's going to be the type of query that you're doing. In this case, you're going to be posting to your timeline. So you're going to tell it it's a post, and then you're going to give it the text you want to post. So it's only like a couple of things you really have to do. And then it's just a little bit of kind of finagling and getting it to work and figuring out what's going on. And that's what happens like only with every app that I build. I have the same things. First, I get the thing, I read the documentation, I try it out. Typically something always goes wrong, then I figure out what's wrong, then I fix it, then so that's typically what we go through as developers when we're figuring stuff out. Yeah.
How are you going to deploy that application? But that's not gonna work.
No, it's not going to work on GitHub Pages. We're going to be doing that with this thing called Heroku, which I've been telling you guys about. Heroku is a product from Salesforce. It is a wrapper for Amazon Elastic Cloud Computing. So it's basically going to go in the cloud, and we're going to show you guys how to do that in another week. I think it's week 13, is it? It'll be like a few weeks from now. So for now, you'll just be having your projects on your local host. Because GitHub Pages can't run Node.
But it's good to have, so we're still sending in the GitHub Pages.
You're sending in your GitHub repo. Don't worry about making GitHub Pages for this project because GitHub Pages doesn't work for Node. You're just turning in your repos. The TAs will run them.
Got it.
Thanks, TAs. Yeah. So other questions on homework 10. What else was hard for you guys to figure out? For those of you guys who got it done, the different NPM modules for the APIs were hard. What else?
Hard to have 20 tweets.
Hard to what?
You have 20 tweets.
20 tweets.
I didn't have 20 tweets.
I just use my own personal account.
Oh.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could use my personal because we have postings, but I never really post to it, so I use this one.
Yeah, I made a too. I had to do a change.
So what's
Yeah.
I still have working for that verified.
I guess part of me.
I'll have to look at the instructions.
Yeah, I think the old instructions was that it would post to Twitter, but these new instructions is just gathering the last.
Oh, okay. Wait, so they changed the instructions
Yeah,
since we
because
reviewed
you're
it
not
last
the only
week?
one who mentioned that I'd be posting to our Twitter, but when I read the instructions, there wasn't.
Yeah, I just read whatever instructions were up on the TS guide, so they must have changed it since last week. They changed a bunch of stuff. I'm telling you, they rearranged the whole week. They just changed a bunch of.
Post it, yeah, post this a little bit.
Okay.
I was just retrieving the 20 tweets.
Okay, yeah, the instructions were a little bit different before. I guess they ran into.
Yeah,
problems with that.
same thing for me.
Yeah, they change stuff all the time. What are you gonna do? Okay, so what else worked? I mean, that's pretty much all there was to it, right? You're getting the input from the command line. You're installing these NPM modules for the different APIs. There's one for Spotify, one for Twitter, etc. You make them work. That's pretty much all there is to it, right? Okay, so questions on this for the people who aren't quite finished with the extensions that we get done tonight?
Wait, so do we Slack you? We need an extension.
Yes, Slack you if you need an extension.
What about week 11? Drum roll.
So by week 11, we're
This is
doing
week
next Tuesday, right?
Okay, so week 11 homework. Yeah, week 11 will be due next Tuesday. Homework is always due on the following Tuesdays. You guys seem to be doing a good job with it. I'm confident in all of your abilities to do it. Guys, you're gonna have this side conversations.
Yeah, this week's Tuesday.
And when is that?
We shall see.
Yeah, okay, getting you guys the homework now. Bear with me. Okay, homework. Please let there be a video. Okay, yes. One time that's gonna work, so if you're like, oh, here you go, slack that out to the class. Yeah, no, it's gonna work. Not only can you try, but okay. Let's read this. Okay. Will somebody read the first part here?
Exit out of
Oh my God, is it the H word?
Optional.
That's why I went, oh no!
Get that away from me.
Oh, Hangman?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you guys would be enthused by the fact that it's optional. No? No advance. One homework. Look, guys, you're seeing the exact same stuff I'm seeing. Homework this week is optional. That's what I was trying to get you guys to realize. Yeah. I am a fan of the optional homework. I heard in Europe they make all the homework optional for the school kids and be much happier.
Yeah,
More productive people.
Unless we have to grade Larry.
I gave you guys clear step-by-step instructions for Hangman. We talked about Hangman. We went over Hangman. Oh my God. Well, it is kind of scary. It is a very morbid game, first of all. I only realized that when I was building it. Like every ASCII art Hangman just looked really, like almost borderline, like, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, you guys will be making an optional Hangman game. The unadvanced regular homework for this week is no homework, so that option is available to you as well. You get to do whatever you want. Go to the gym, clean your cupboards. I don't know. Those are the things that I always like procrastinate on.
I can catch up on sleep.
Well, and you're a character.
I've been told.
Yeah. It's great. It's refreshing. Okay, so letter.js. So you're going to create a constructor. As if Hangman weren't confusing enough, you're going to do it in an object-oriented way. Yay. So you'll have a constructor for letter. Each letter will have a constructor because each letter could either be right or wrong. It could either match the letter. The constructor should be able to either display the underlying character or a blank placeholder, such as an underscore, depending on whether the user has guessed the letter. So you guys will have this homework available to you. Challenge yourselves. You might be surprised with the results. It might not be as hard as you think.
I really-
Yeah.
It doesn't say
I don't know.
that.
I just made the homework assignment optional though, so you can see with an O, so it's not gonna count against you. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it will. I think when we make an assignment optional, I think that's the way that it works in the grading system that we have. I will ask Siobhan though, and she's back. Yeah, like next week or next class, I'll ask her. Yeah, it should. I'll make sure that it does. If you guys complete this optional assignment, I'll make sure it counts to your grade. So this might be a good one for some of you who have missed homeworks or, not been doing so well on the homework. This will be a good opportunity for you to catch up and get, back in the swing of things. Okay. What time is it?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
about the object-oriented?
Yeah.
So how do you inherit some properties from an existing object to a new object that you create?
Well, that JavaScript doesn't have that ability built into it because it's not a fully object-oriented language. With ECMAScript 6, you do have some object-oriented mechanisms available to you, like class. You can create a class, and then you can import the class. But if you want to do that, you can use prototype-based inheritance, where you would set the prototype of something to be something else. But the short answer is that JavaScript just doesn't really work that way. It's better to do a more functional modular style of programming. That's what I'm going to encourage for you guys. It's bad to do fully object-oriented programming in JavaScript for two reasons. One is because you're sort of fighting the language, and two is because it doesn't scale well anyway, so it's better to have a bunch of loosely joined pieces, and you end up with a better product that way.
How do we deal with that issue in real life, JavaScript, for example? That example that you have several different kind of customers. We want to create a new kind of customer that takes some properties from some constructor, but add different ones.
Well, typically what you would do is you would use a library because there are people, what you want to do is you want to avoid reinventing the wheel in JavaScript. You want to avoid saying, hey, how do I fix this language and get into some really, wonky computer science stuff that, university computer science professors do. You don't want to do the work of university computer science professors. You want that work already done for you in a nice JavaScript package that you can download and install on your site. So you would use tools like Require is a good one that will give you some of that. When we get into using React, you'll get even more of that kind of structure. There are a bunch of other good object-oriented. Do you guys know of any object-oriented libraries that can do that kind of stuff? Like, so you have customers, and then you have government customers and private customers. Like, how do you make things inherit? I mean, you can use ES6 for it. ES6 will just let you do all of those things by default.
Is there a way of doing that without using an object-oriented architecture?
Well, you could use a functional architect. You could use a prototype-based architecture, where the way you would do that is you would have like a prototype. So there would be a prototype for customers. Then you could have a prototype that extends another prototype. So you would have that inherit from that. So sorry, it's hard to give examples and explain all of this stuff on the fly. It's not very common that you will be doing that with JavaScript web development. The reason why is that those type of patterns are better encapsulated basically in modules. So you could use it with a simple require kind of architecture. So you would have one module that's for customer, and then you'd have another module that's for business to business customer, another one that's for government customer, and then that could extend the basic prototype of the module. Let me show you how this would work with require. Require JS extends. So there's some good blog posts on this that you can go and read, and they'll show you how you can use it with prototype-based inheritance. So you have a human, you can define the prototype of it. And then you could extend it like this. So there are different types of patterns that people make to do that basic thing. But again, this is another case where the plain English just talking about it kind of trumps the in the weeds implementation. So if you know this is the architecture of my application, I have customers, and some of them are going to be business customers, and some of them are going to be government customers, then you're a long way there. Then you just have to do the Googling and say, well, which one of these patterns works best for me? Because there are going to be a bunch of, numerous ways to skin a cat. As we say, you could do it this way. You could go through and look at all the other ways that people are doing it, and then kind of figure out which way works best for me. There isn't a clear cut and dry answer in this with JavaScript yet, because people have figured out different ways to solve this kind of problem with JavaScript. But with ES6, you do have class, you have extends, you have all the same type of mechanisms that you have with Java. So you can easily do it with ES6 with the new object-oriented feature. Any other questions? That was a good question. Sorry if I didn't answer that very well. Let's see. What do you guys want to do for the last 9 minutes of class?
Destroy furniture.
Yeah! I knew you were a cat.
My dog.
I don't have a dog.
I have a dog. If anybody
Sorry for any cat lovers, by the way. Okay, we can leave early. If you guys want to leave early, that's fine. Just get yourself videos for Thursday, yes.
Yeah, and then.
Yeah, let me know if you have questions.
Okay, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Anybody?
Oh, Jackie. Jackie. You want to try to figure out your problem? Okay. No problem. See you later.
And right, you're breathing them out. I think I did.
All right, Jonathan.
All right, no problem. Good work today. See ya.
Sorry, I found this notebook that is like web development notes.
Oh,
I thought there's another notebook here as well.
You guys know from the group project? And I asked like the whole class.
Yeah. Wait, did you find a notebook too?
Yeah.
Wait, when did you find that?
This was on that desk before class started. Yeah.
Oh, it
But
might
from
be from
Monday.
the Monday, Wednesday.
I should know the class.
It's beautiful, you know, I like how you source and take notes.
Yeah, they're good notes. Maybe I'll scan them in and.
Oh, they just lost this recently though. They have a Firebase notes here.
I'm gonna, slide that.
Yeah, that one is hard to do. Which one even has like node, sign up.
Yeah.
Do something. Oh, we're gonna do something.
So we can just.
We could do something.
Yes, yeah, you can.
Today.
In Siobhan's absence.
No, do something with the Monday, Wednesday class. They did a thing that was like similar to our, where's the
Oh, you're right. Okay, this is their.
No, that was next week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Nice. You're both.
Did you do
You're
something?
not, sorry.
That was the last command in the homework.
I think he was making a
Look what it
joke.
says.
No, but that's
I'm trying to
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank
How many times can you take part?
Great.
Yeah.
That's why I want to be like really sure before taking. They have been procrastinating for almost a year, you know, because you can do it any time. So I'm like, my college is right
Oh,
there.
but you did.
Yeah.
I think I
It
told you
really
twice.
is time, like, you know, like, this is the day you have to take it.
Yeah, I think I had to take it twice or three times.
What class?
The PERT exam.
Oh, the PERT exam. Yeah, I just had to go back and take the college algebra again.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with math. My only problem is writing and reading.
Yeah, I mean, the college algebra is not so bad. It's not so bad as bad as the like. But
Oh, nice trick.
learned it from Jonathan.
Oh, yeah, Bengi, yeah.
I wonder whose backpack this is. This is just.
I always, every time I come in here, I always thought it was yours. So you just.
Well,
Yeah, me
no,
too.
what happened was Siobhan locked mine in the room when she left. I went to go try to give you your charger back that last Saturday I was here.
Right.
And then my backpack got locked in the room, so she went and got it back from building services and gave it back to me, but I guess she got this one too, because she wasn't sure which one it was. So this is just like some random lost backpack. Hopefully. I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's too much stuff in it. And this water bottle, this is a nice water bottle.
Yeah.
Should adopt it. It's a little dented.
Case data is just the second item in the process ID. Starting at the end. So that basically means.
More lost items.
Oh, isn't that
Do you have the switch implemented as well?
I'm gonna go home and send the whole album.
Later, Tim.
Yeah. You guys on? Well, yeah. Don't touch it because I'm sick.
See ya. Yeah, I'm sick too. Sanitize my hand.
I will lay it. Nice. Take it sick, so.
We've all been sick. My whole department is sick back at work.
Good. Bye, girl. Don't get sick.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye. You sure you got enough here?
Yeah.
Just log out.
We got two guns here.
Both Jonathans.